do to reset and rebuild, and how will it carve out space in this new parliament? With me now to talk about all of that is Interim NDP leader Don Davies. Mr. Davies, a pleasure to welcome you back to the program. Thank you for making the time.
Great to be with you, Vashi.
I have a couple of questions for you looking ahead to the leadership, but I actually wanted to start off. I had heard a few interviews you've done where you reflect on the last 4 months and the degree to which you've talked to Canadians about what matters to them, about the outcome of the election. And I wondered from those conversations what you would identify as what they told you about where the party went wrong.
Well, I think the overwhelming consensus among New Democrats from all walks of life, Vashi, is that we are a party of working people, and that's why we were formed. In 1961, we were formed by working people, for working people, to bring that perspective to Parliament, because there's a void at the national level. Neither the Conservatives nor the Liberals regard their mission as explicitly to represent the interests and voices of working people and other marginalized groups. So I heard a very strong message that they want the NDP to rediscover our roots and to reimagine a strong, bold, progressive option that is centered on improving lives for working people across the country.
I mean, what would you identify as your roots? Is it centered in the working class vote? And I wonder, again, why you think in the last election messaging around that failed to resonate. Because I think one of the most interesting things in some of the surveys that have been done since the election is, yes, Trump mattered a lot. I know that we kind of all assumed that that had such an enormous impact on the outcome of the election for all the parties, and it did matter. But other issues were very, very high up there, including things that traditionally I think matter to people who vote for the NDP, like cost of living and housing. Like, is there something in particular you think made it so that your party failed to capitalize on that part of the sentiment?
You know, at this point, the election's 4 months ago, Vashi. We've got a review process that's going on right now. I'm really thinking, looking forward. You know, we have serious problems facing this country, and the specter of Donald Trump is still casting a shadow over our country. I saw job numbers came out today that show the highest unemployment rate in 10 years. Over 7%, and among young people, it's in the mid-teens. There's a jobs crisis, there's a housing crisis, there's a climate crisis, there's an affordability crisis, and we have serious problems to examine. So, I'm really excited about our leadership race. We're going to have a vigorous democratic debate across this country. We're having a caucus retreat next week where our caucus is going to get together and plan priorities for the fall, and we've got a very important budget coming up in October. So we're really looking forward, and we know that the NDP is at its best when we are proposing concrete, positive, practical policies that will improve the lives of working people, which are the majority of people in this country.
And
that's what we're centered on.
And I will ask about those policies in a moment, and I do understand why you want to focus on moving forward. I will respectfully put to you that was a bit of a dodge, right? And the reason I am asking about identifying sort of what you missed the mark on as a party is because I imagine that will help inform the direction you take moving forward. When you mentioned the review, for example, that's being done, when will that be released and will it be made public?
I'm not exactly sure when the review will be made public, but sometime this fall, and I'm sure it will be. We have Emily Taman from Ottawa, a noted human rights lawyer, a longtime member of our party, and actually a former candidate who is touring the country talking to candidates, riding presidents, rank and file members, progressive allies, and to get at the very questions that you're talking about, Vashi, which is to sort of do a really honest inventory about why we are where we're at and how we can improve going forward.
One more question about the leadership before I get into those issues and sort of your posture during the upcoming sitting. You told my colleague Steve Paikin that your party in the last election veered too far from class-based to identity politics. This week, I think arguably the biggest headline out of the official launch of the leadership race was that rule I mentioned in the introduction, that basically the requirement that at least 50% of the total required signatures must be from members who do not identify as a cis man. I understand the motivation. I think I would assume behind that would be to be more inclusive. But do you get how that headline landed? The impression left really is one where identity politics still do rule.
Yeah, and I don't share that sort of line from the media on that, because there's a difference between identity politics and inclusion. And you know, all parties have rules in their leadership races where they require their leadership candidates to reach out to a broad range of people. For instance, on region, Conservatives, Liberals, NDP always require a certain number of nominations to come from different regions, and that's to include people. So the NDP has broadened that. For instance, we have a certain percentage of nominations have to come from young people, which I think is critically important, especially, again, if you talk to young people today who are having great difficulty finding jobs, the home ownership is out of the question for them, they're worried about their futures. I think having leadership candidates have to reach out to those people and engage them in discussion and include them in the political process is really important. So I think inclusion is a very, very vital component of our leadership race, and it's the way that you're going to get diverse policies and include as many people from all walks of life in this country in the very important decisions we're going to have to make moving forward.
And that's why I said, like, I understand the motivation is inclusion, and I understand the merits of that. But if you want more young people to vote or more young people to participate, do you say to old people that they shouldn't? It's the negative connotation, right? It's like cis men can't, don't, do not. The language, I would imagine, is important, and it does send a message.
Right. But again, that, with respect, that interpretation is wrong. There is no don't or can't. As many people that want to nominate can. You can get 3,000 nominations. This is it's just that a minimum of the 500 required have to come from a certain group. There is nothing preventing anybody in this country from any group of signing nomination papers at all. So this is just to make sure that there is a deliberate attempt to reach out to marginalized groups, people that are often left out of the process, so that we can bring people in, and that doesn't take away rights from anybody else.
So more than 50% can be from cis men?
It's of the 500, right? Of the 500
right.
required signatures, a certain percentage have to be, but beyond that, anybody can nominate. So everybody is included and welcome in the NDP leadership.
But that's what's required, right? Those signatures. Like I think you're trying to say like this is made up, but like that is what is written.
No, it's a policy by our federal council that's intended to make sure that we are reaching out to as many diverse groups as possible, and to do it in a way that that includes everybody and doesn't keep anybody out of our race.
Okay, let me ask you about Parliament and move on to the upcoming sitting. The last time we spoke months ago, I remember you saying that there were whispers or murmurs that possibly the Liberals were putting out feelers, pardon me, was the exact word for floor crossers. Are you confident that your entire caucus will stay NDP in this sitting?
Oh, 100%.
No doubt whatsoever?
No, none at all. And, you know, we've engaged over the summer. I've had meetings with all of our caucus members and discussions, and again, we're gathering in Parksville on Vancouver Island next week to plan our parliamentary session, and we've been planning the agenda together. It's going to be very exciting. We have 7 very experienced, very energetic, passionate parliamentarians who, you know, I think have already made a mark. Vashi, I mean, in June, in the first 4 weeks, it was NDP MPs who introduced the first private members bill, the first emergency motion. We got Bill C5 split in half. We led the opposition on C2 and C5, 2 very critical pieces of legislation. So we're going to punch above our weight. We're going to be united, strong, and progressive, and we're going to add progressive voices to this parliament.
Okay, I'm out of time, Mr. Davies. Thank you so much for your time today. As always, appreciate it.
Thanks for your time, Vashi.